بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين وصلى الله وسلم وبارك على عبده ورسوله نبينا وإمامنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين أما بعد السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. طيب, where's Matthew ibn Habib? He's MIA, huh? He's on his way? You spoke with him? Inshallah. طيب. Last week, Mahad, Fadl. Quickly. Main points of last week's class. Hadith mashhur. Hadith mashhur. A famous hadith, a popular hadith. What does that mean? According to the discipline of ilmul hadith. Hadith mashhur, well known, famous hadith, famous hadiths. طيب, what else did we explain last week? Anything else, Ibn Victor, last week? Abdul Aziz? Noor al-Hilo. Hadith al-Musalsal. Jameel. What else did we speak about? Anything else last week? Hadith Aziz. Jameel. What else? Before you get started with tonight's class? Wahid, Fadl. Fadl, Bismillah. Anything else? Faisal? Hadith Mashhur, we mentioned that. Bismillah. All right, let's get started with tonight's class. Bi'idhnillahi ta'ala. Once again, we've said before, قُلْنَا مِرَارًا وَتِكْرَارًا مُذَاكَرَةُ الْعِلْمِ حَيَاتُهُ. مُذَاكَرَةُ الْعِلْمِ حَيَاتُهُ. You gotta make review. Have to make review. All right? No review, you can't lock down the knowledge. You can't move forward. Okay, so before we get started with tonight's class, what I'm going to share with you, brothers and sisters, tonight, those who want to, of course, there are different explanations of the book, as we said before, from different authors, different scholars, different students of knowledge. You don't just have to stick with us. If someone wanted the full and complete explanation, my versions, and here you have it. This is the audio. This is years ago. No, it's not me reciting it. My recitation ain't that good. But what we did was, before the explanation, we wanted to put the entire audio. That way it can make it easy for a person to memorize, to recite it properly. And this is, you guys may laugh. Oh man, hold on, I just forgot, sorry. I'm so used to it, I'm using the matches. Yeah. Put on the hotspot really quick. What'd you say? There we go. This was years ago, almost over 10, maybe over 11 years ago. So that's me. A couple extra whiskers maybe, maybe a little more, stress marks on the face. This was in my library in Medina years ago, alhamdulillah. And we wanted to explain the book and break it down in English. And this is 7 videos, the entire book is explained. Lines 26 to the end. The Mudraj, look, see what's in the picture, right? Look what's in the video. Huh? See that? There's this one. Okay. So nothing new, huh? I had tea jugs older than some other brothers' career in seeking ilm. You see it or not? There's no gimmicks. That what you see, that's this. This has been through continents. Okay? Well, alhamdulillah. Tea has always been a part of the way of the disciple. Walillahi alhamd. Some of those books you see in the back of me, you can see at the masjid. صح؟ تمهيد لابن عبد البر. عرفت شفت يا شيخ؟ تحفة المغاربة شفتوا؟ عن اليمين هذا التمهيد. سنن النسائي عون المعبود إلى آخره. All right. So there's 7 videos. The entire poem is explained. And then I have another version that I did with some students, some sisters, who used to be my students in Toronto, in which we did 2 parts, was at an accelerated pace. They used to be students, no longer students, for one reason or another. Al-Muhim. So you have the availability of reading the written explanation, and you also have the availability of taking. All right, let's see. Where we at? What happened? Where's it at? Yeah? What? No, that's not it. Al-Muhim, if you want to, inshallah ta'ala, you can check out the what? The explanation. That's there. That's the moral of the story. Okay? The moral of the story, that the explanation has been there for free, the entire explanation, etc. Tayyib? That's the moral of the story. All right. Now let's move forward. That was Chrome, I believe. Let's see. Should have stuck with the master laptop, right? Tayyib. Al-Muhim, what's important is, let's see, where do we go? Let's see. What? No, I think it was Chrome. It was Safari? All right, Bismillah. All right. Everything is missing. Where did it go? To restore everything? All right, let's see. Where are we at? Which one? All right, no problem. We start again. طيب سهل. All right, who wants to read the lines, inshallah? تعليقات الأثرية. Simple, inshallah. طيب, من حفظ? Who memorized? That's done. Anybody memorized today? Nobody? Mahad, you have nothing more? Bismillah. Start from the beginning. Tafadhal. طيب. طيب. جزاك الله خيرا. غيرك? Who else? Anybody else memorized the lines? All right, so let's get started with tonight's class, inshallah. The last line that we explained was line number 12, in which we went over Hadith Aziz, in which we went over Hadith Mashhur. Line 13, the author, Al-Bayquni, may Allah have mercy upon him, he says, معنعن معنعن كعن سعيد عن كرم ومبهم ما فيه راو لم يسم. Line 14 وكل ما قلت رجاله على وضده ذاك الذي قد نزل. معنعن and mubham. That's what we're going to discuss for now. معنعن and mubham. طيب. So read the line one more time. Mahad. معنعن ومبهم. طيب. All right. Let's move forward, inshallah ta'ala, with the explanation. Mashhur. Last week, we said that there are different types of hadith mashhur, famous hadith. A hadith could be famous and popular and totally unauthentic. A hadith could be famous and popular which has no basis. A hadith could be famous and popular to the scholars of a discipline, scholars of Quran, the Qur'an. You can't go to any madrasa, any Quran school, east, west, north, south, except that you're going to hear this hadith. Any Quran reciter, Quran teacher is going to mention this Quran, this one narration. People who study Arabic language, they're going to use this example concerning the أكلون البراغيث مثلا مثال مشهور أكلون البراغيث, right? And the different ahadith that they use for linguists and different ahadith that they use that are well known to the people of fiqh. أبغض الحلال إلى الله الطلاق. Well known, the most hated thing that Allah has made lawful is divorce. Every faqih is going to say that when it comes to the issue of divorce. As an example, Naam, okay, the ulama of Maghrib, Al-Arabi, Al-Islami, they're all going to mention the hadith with regards to Imam Dar al-Hijrah. And the people will get on the backs of camels. And they'll barely find someone more learned than the Imam of Medina. So the different groups and parties, the different disciplines within Islam, they have certain hadiths which are more famous and more popular. And last but not least, مشهور عند المحدثين على اصطلاح المحدثين. What makes a hadith technically mashhur? All right, last week we explained that. Let's move forward, بإذن الله تعالى. Line number 13, the author says, معنعن كعن سعيد عن كرم ومبهم ما فيه راو لم يسم. المعنعن هو الحديث الذي يقول فيه راويه أو يقول فيه راو واحد من رواته أو أكثر عن فلان عن فلان. وذكر الناظم مثالا سريعا فقال عن كرم فإن كان الراوي مدلسا ولم يصرح بالتحديث أو السماع فالحديث مردود، وإن كان ثقة ثبتا لم يعهد عليه تدليس فهو مقبول، أو إذا جاء بالسماع تصريح من رواية أخرى للحديث نفسه. All right, moving forward to the English in this version, basic terminology. We should be on line number what? 13. All right, tight. Line 10, line 13 states, Mu'an'an is like from Sa'id, from Karam, and Mubham is what has in it a narrator who hasn't been named. So these are two different types of hadith. Number one is called al-hadith al-mu'an'an. And number two is called al-mubham. Mu'an'an and mubham both pertain to the chain of narration. Mu'an'an is when a narrator narrates from a teacher without explicitly stating that he heard it from that teacher or the teacher told him. But instead he says, so-and-so said. Narrated from Fulan. An Sa'id an Karam. بدون أن يصرح ب سمعت حدثني قال لي قرأت عليه أخبرني. هذا فيه تصريح بأنه تحمل هذا الكلام من هذا الإنسان وهذا الشخص، وليس بينه وبينه أي راو آخر. أما المعنعن أو المؤنن فيقول أن فلانا قال عن فلان أنه قال، سمعته منه، حدثك بهذا الشيء، ولا بينك وبين هذا الشيخ راو واسطة فأكثر. ما حال هذا الواسطة وهذا الراوي المحذوف ذكره من السند؟ ثقة، ضعيف، كذاب، مجهول، لا ندري. So mu'an'an is narration in which a person isn't being frank. He isn't stating that he heard it from this person directly, but so and so said. And mubham is a chain of narration in which there is an unknown narrator, or there is a metin. عن أبي هريرة رضي الله عنه أنه قال جاءت امرأة إلى النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم. امرأة، من هذه الامرأة؟ هذه المرأة لم تسم، فقد يؤثر الإبهام في صحة الحديث وقد لا يؤثر. All right, so we said for hadith to be sound there has to be how many conditions? 4 or 5. One of those conditions is what? Muttasil. What else? They must be equitable. They must have their religion has to be known. Their precision has to be known. Okay. Says Sa'id narrates from Karam, but does so in a manner which does not make it clear if he did in actual fact meet and hear from him directly. All right. Everybody pay close attention, huh? Close attention. Let's bring back our chain of narration. Mahad, Nur al-Hilu, Ibn Victor. Who's missing? Who's missing from the chain? Who's missing? Abdul Aziz came afterwards, but Bismillah. Aywa. Okay. So Nur al-Hilu is the hadith compiler. He's Bukhari, he's Malik, he's Ahmed, right? And I would be who? As an example. If Nur al-Hilu was Bukhari, I would be who right now? Yeah, Nabi alayhi salatu wasalam. How convenient, huh? Tayyib. Allahu Akbar. How do you make it up, bro? A win is a what? Win is a win, huh? Tayyib. Ibn Victor would be who? Sahabi. He would be Abu Hurairah. Mahad would be who? Such as, of course, that's too easy. And Sufyan al-Thawri, didn't meet the Sahaba. Hassan al-Basri, Sa'id ibn Jubair. There you go. You think we can get it that easy? Sa'id ibn al-Musayyib, Muhammad ibn Sirin, وهكذا. Abu Salama ibn Abdurrahman ibn Auf, وهكذا وهكذا. So right now, Nur al-Hilu is the compiler. Abdul Aziz is his teacher. Mahad is his teacher. Ibn Victor is his teacher. And I am, of course, am the ultimate teacher, huh? Al-Ustaz A'zam, right? Right? The grand teacher. طيب. So Mubham would be for Nur al-Hilu to say, your chain, mention it. Yeah, Haddathani, reported to me was who? Who's your teacher? Abdul Aziz. Tell him your chain of narration. Abdul Aziz reported to me. Abdul Aziz told us, I was once a student. Bukhari was once a student. Bukhari was sitting down with his teacher, and there were other students. And he says that this teacher told us or told me. And his teacher's teacher is, what did Mahad say? Did he tell you? Hey, perfect example. So you're going to narrate, you're going to say, Abdulaziz reported to me from, that's double. From the Prophet. The Prophet said A, B, C, D, E. So, did Abdulaziz hear from Mahad directly, or is there someone between the two? How do you know that? But did he tell you that? Did he state that? He said what? Mahad what? He didn't say حدثنا. كعن سعيد فهمت الآن عن أنا وما صرح بالتحديث ما قال حدثني أخبرني قال لي وإنما قال أو عن. Clear or not? George Washington said. Did I meet George Washington? No, I didn't. So who's between me and George Washington? You understand or not? Or just one person. Someone who died, and think about someone who died recently. An important figure recently who died. O.J. Simpson. Beautiful. O.J. All right? O.J. said, that's not the same as me saying O.J. told me. O.J. told me. O.J. said to me, I never met him, I would be a liar. But I'm not a liar. I'm just telling you that he said something. It's narrated that O.J. Simpson said. This is life advice of, success in sports, etc., etc. He beat the K's. He was a sports icon, etc., etc. And he gave some beautiful life advice. But I'm not telling you that what? I directly heard from him. So maybe there's somebody between me and OJ, and maybe there isn't. And that itself is the what? That's the problem with this type of hadith. And that type of hadith cannot be accepted until we know who heard from who, from what, who said it precisely. So mu'anan is when the narrator says an instead of haddathani, akhbarani, qala li, dhakara li, ajazani. Everybody clear on this? So the chain of narration would be, you report from your teacher who's Abdulaziz, and he said Abdulaziz did what? Told me. What did he tell you? That Mahad what? He said, Mahad said that Ibn Victor reported to him that the Prophet ﷺ, etc., etc., etc. That I said, my favorite beverage is hot tea. Understand? So Abdulaziz and Mahad, maybe he met him, maybe he heard from him, maybe he didn't. But he isn't telling you yes or no. محتمل لهذا ولهذا. It's possible for both. So let's skip the second part of that line and let's move forward to the next line in the poem. Everybody stay with me now, okay? Everybody stay with me. Back to the poem. Author says, and what line is that, Ibn Victor? 14. All right. Let's move forward now. Mursal. Getting used to this laptop. Sorry. Growing pains. 17. All right. Which is also pertaining to this. 18. All right. The author, he says, وَالْمُعْضَلُ السَّاقِطُ مِنْهُ اثْنَانِ ما نريد هذا الآن وما أتى مدلسا نوعان. طيب ايش النوع الاول من المدلس؟ الحديث المدلس الذي فيه تدليس. الاول الاسقاط للشيخ وان ينقل عمن فوقه بعن وان. فهمت الان؟ عن او ان بالعين والهمز. والثاني لا يسقطه لكن يصف اسناده بما به لا ينعرف. All right, everybody stay with me now. Everybody pay attention. All right, listen carefully, inshallah. So, conditions for hadith to be sahih. Conditions for hadith to be sound. Nur al-Hilu is the compiler. We're reading his book. He's collected and compiled the narrations from his teacher, from his teacher, from his teacher, to the one who said the metin, the text, whatever that text may be. Everybody clear on this or not? The two parts of the hadith, sanad and metin. We're done. We explained all of that. That's finished. All right. Give a little space. So, wa'an, you're his student for sure. You met him, you narrated from him, he gave you ijazah. There's no doubt about that. And he told you specifically what this report says. That's done. But his teacher, he chooses not to state that he heard from him and that his teacher told him. But it doesn't mean that his teacher what? Didn't. Maybe he did or maybe he didn't. But he did not frankly say, Mahad told me. So the problem is where? Here. This is where the problem is. And if he didn't hear this specifically from his teacher, and there's someone else missing, we would have to find out the condition of that other missing person. So the hadith, if he said that Mahad said something from Ibn Victor, from me, without specifically stating that he heard it from his teacher, that hadith will be rejected or accepted. Which of the two? Why? Adam al-ittisal, and there's something else missing. If we prove that there's someone between these two, we don't know his conditions, his religion, his precision, his memory, etc., etc., etc. All right, everybody with me so far? Now, why would he say an? لماذا يعنعن؟ ما السبب؟ ليش ما يقول حدثني أخبرني؟ ليش يعنعن؟ إيش فائدة عنعن أصلا؟ Maybe he didn't hear from him, so he's cheating. Or maybe he did hear from his teacher, but there's another reason why he doesn't want to say حدثني. فضل. That would be if someone was missing. He's mentioning his name, but he's not saying that he heard it from him directly. So, he didn't hear from him, but he's sure that what? Aywa. I know he said it, but I wasn't there that day for class. And I still want to give the narration to my student, who is the compiler. Everybody clear on this or not? I'm sure he said it, but I didn't what? I didn't hear it from him. And to make things worse, he is his student. But for argument's sake, I didn't hear from him directly. There's someone else that he heard it from. That's one scenario. Second scenario, he did hear it from his teacher, Mahad. But when he was asked about it, he wasn't 100% sure. So he said, An. Or we were in a sitting in which we were reviewing the hadiths. Majlis Mudhakara. We're just sitting around. And the sitting of review, the sparring session, isn't like the actual what? Real class. Understand the difference? So he got hadith from his teacher after hours. They were just sitting around talking. He says, let me give you the narration. So out of respect, he's not going to say what? Hadathani. Because that is only for the proper sitting in which I was sitting down and he gave us all ijazah. Understand the scenarios or not? So these are reasons why a narrator will diverge from he told me to he said. Everybody clear on this or not? We on the same page? All right, now, afterwards, وَمَا أَتَى مُدَلَّسًا نَوْعَانِ. Let's say for argument's sake, there is someone missing between him and his teacher, Mahad. There is a narrator that's missing. Somebody is missing, all right? Somebody is missing between the two. So for him to say that Mahad said, even though he's not saying he said to me, is he lying or not? Is that a lie? It's not a what? It's not a lie, but it's very what? Close. But it isn't technically a what? He's not lying. So if he does this, does it make him an unreliable narrator? Maybe it does. If the person who's missing is extremely weak. If the person who's missing is a liar. If the person who's missing is someone who slanders the companion. But for argument's sake, it doesn't attack his integrity. Understand? Now, you are a person in this line who makes that which is called tadlis. And tadlis has different types. One of those types is for you to, listen carefully, to narrate something from a teacher who is your teacher that you didn't hear. So first and foremost, he's a student of him or not. So the one looking from a distance, he automatically, Abdulaziz, Mahad, ittisal, connection, continuous chain. But this specific narration, he didn't hear directly from his what? From his teacher. But he heard it from, you come, quick. Give him a little more space, please. The day in which Mahad heard from Ibn Victor, from me, that tea is my favorite beverage, he had to go use the bathroom. Or he got a phone call, or he ran into an emergency. He ran out, he left the class. You came back to the class, hey, what did Mahad say? What happened in the class? Et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But why do you have to mention the middleman when you're directly connected to this chain? But why though? You're a student. Why put him and make the chain longer? Or maybe he's younger than you. Or maybe you have a personal problem with him. Allahu Alam, what's between him and him? So therefore, to make it easy and convenient, I'm just going to say what? That he what? He said. Everybody clear on this or not? دوافع التدليس ما يكون يعني لا يلزم يكون سبب حرام شر. أسباب يعني عدة أسباب. I don't feel comfortable narrating from somebody when I heard from him directly. I don't have to go through you. We're peers. I'm older than you. I'm better than you in a class. Allahu Alam what the reason may be. I didn't mention that I didn't hear this specific narration from this teacher. But I'm his normal student. I normally take from him directly. So I just said what? Clearness or not. Next problem is, you can take a seat, is let's say for example, he narrates from his teacher Mahad and he gives him a name that that he isn't known by. No one really knows him by this name. But that's his actual what? That's his name. Even better, Ibn Victor. You report from me, you give me a name that not too many people know me as by, such as what? Sensei. Nah, they may have heard you online saying that. Just give me something else, some other name that not too many people know me by. Abu Ramla. Maybe, maybe not. Not too many people know me by that name. So he says, Abu Ramla told me, he said to me, who's Abu Ramla? That's Abu Ramla told me, that's it. Instead of him directly saying the name that knows me by and calls me by, understand? So it's a type of cheating, but at the same time it isn't a type of cheating. And this is only known until we investigate and look into the chain of narration. All right, we're going to explain all of that a little later, inshallah ta'ala. Let's get back to line number 12, right? And the second, so we clear on Mu'anan so far? We're on the same page? Okay, so the chain of narration of the Aziz can be connected with that or not. If you don't directly say that Mahad told you, can the chain of narration be continuous? Noor hello, can it? It's possible. Mahad, what you say? It can be connected. It all depends. Everybody clear on this or not? It depends on the one who says an, from. Okay, moving forward. The second half of the line, mubham. Noor hello, give us your chain of narration one more time. You're going to say, Abdul Aziz told me. La, from a man. Rajul, Muslim min al-Muslimin. Who said that? Muhammad ibn Muneer said. Ibn Victor's name isn't what? Mentioned. But he's mentioning I heard from someone. Someone told me. He's not making on. He told me, but I'm not telling you who that person what is. I didn't know his name. He's unknown. Or I know his name, but for one reason or another, I choose not to mention his name. Got it or not? And that is called mubham. Mubham. That type of hadith in which that has that type of narrator is considered a what? What is it called? What's that? What would that be called? Or what would be the ruling on that? You can't rely upon it. Why not? Because we don't know who this man is. We don't know who he is. We don't know what his status is. We don't know if he heard from me directly. But what if Mahad trusts you, this man? He's trustworthy. Can we rely on it still? Why not? Think about it from a logical standpoint. Why can't you rely on it? Exactly. He's good with Mahad, but it doesn't mean what? We need transparency. We need to see his resume. You trust him, and we respect that, but it doesn't mean that you know everything about him. Who is he? Where did he come from? Who did he study with? So on and so forth. So the mubham, ma fihi rawin lam yusam, is the narrators whose name isn't mentioned. If the narrator's name isn't mentioned in the chain of narration is automatically what? Weak, rejected. Except for one scenario, which would be what? That's afterwards. Except for one scenario, Taha. Another narration, that's secondary. That's not. La Sahabi. He says, one of the companions of the Messenger of Allah ﷺ told me. That's it. رجل صاحب النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم أربع سنين. A man who met the Prophet صلى الله عليه وسلم. If the tabi'i says that, the narration is what? Acceptable. Because all of the companions are reliable. Period. End of discussion. There is no grading of the Sahabi. The only thing that's important is determining, is the person actually from the Sahaba. Once it's confirmed that he's from the companions, then he's already what? There's nothing to discuss. He's a good memory, bad memory. Jawaz al-Qantara. There's nothing to discuss. The tabi'i, different story. You got to look into who he was, what he was. The one after the tabi'i, we have to look into who he was, what he was. All the way to the hadith compiler. We got this or not? So, to summarize things, mubham is a hadith in which a man or woman is mentioned inexplicitly. The name isn't mentioned. A man told me, a woman told me, a man said, a woman said. We don't know what is the state or status of that man or that woman. Therefore, that chain of narration would be weak. All right, what if, or the second type is when a man or woman is mentioned in the what? The text. A man came to the Prophet. The Prophet said to a man. Is that important? And if so, why? Fadl, Ta'a. Who he was talking to, but why would that be of any importance? Keep thinking, finely tuned, think about it. Think about it though. The Prophet said to a companion who accepted Islam after the conquest of Mecca, or the Prophet said this to a man who made hijrah. The fiqh ruling could change based off of who he said it to. This companion didn't accept Islam until the 9th or the 10th year, proving that this hadith came way after the hadith in which he spoke to one of the muhajirin. Everybody clear on this or not? Perfect example of this. Do you have to make wudu if you touch your private part? Do you have to make wudu if you touch your private part? It's a real life example. There are two hadiths. One hadith states, the man asked the Prophet ﷺ, Ar-rajulu touches this part of his body, touches that part of his body, yamassu dhakarahu fi salah. In the prayer, he happens to touch his private part, whatever the reason. If clothes are falling, scratch, whatever the reason. And the Prophet ﷺ said, إِنَّمَا هُوَ بَضْعَةٌ مِنْكَ جُزْ مِنْ جِسْمِكَ لا يختلف عن ذراعك والمرفق واليد جزء منك. And another hadith says, من مس ذكره فليتوضأ. Whoever touches this private part must make wudu. So these are two hadiths which are conflicting. One says there's nothing upon you, and another says that you must make wudu. One of the ways, there are many, but one of the ways that the scholars harmonize between these two hadiths, they say the hadith regarding is only a part of you was said to a companion in the early days of Hijrah. They were building the masjid in Medina. And the next narration is afterwards. So therefore the first ruling is cancelled, mansukh. So there's a fa'idah in knowing who's the mubham hatta fil matan. But it's not the same as sahha wala adam sahha. فهمت؟ الإبهام في الإسناد يضر أكثر من الإبهام في المتن. Everybody clear on this? A person's name isn't mentioned in the chain of narration, big problem, unless it's a companion. A person's name isn't mentioned in the hadith, not so much of a big problem, let alone the fact that the fiqh of the hadith, the rulings, that's secondary, that's separate, that's away from the hadith science primarily. Fahimna? We got it or not? It's clear? Abdul Aziz? You guys got it or not? So therefore, the most important thing as a beginner is to truly understand those initial 5 conditions. The more you understand them and comprehend them, the easier it is to tackle 50 different scenarios. If there's an issue with heard or didn't hear, reject it. If it's an issue with him being of age or too young, reject it. If it's an issue with memory, lack of memory, mardud. If it's irregular, mardud, wahakadha. So the fundamentals are extremely important to understanding any science. Like basketball, strong fundamentals lead to the spectacular plays. But you're never going to find a spectacular person who's fundamentally flawed. It just doesn't exist. It can't exist. Everybody clear on this or not? Popping a wheelie on a bicycle, that is nothing more than a branch of balance, basic balance. You can't keep your balance on a bike with or without the training wheels. You're going to crash. So you pop a wheelie on a bike, all it is what? It's just a manifestation of what? Of supreme balance. That's all. Very, very, very good balance. So well, I only need one tire, one wheel. Everybody clear on this or not? So if your balance is shaky from the get-go, you can forget about doing a trick on a bike. Wadah? All right. So inshallah ta'ala, we should be done with those 2 lines. Line 12, right, Ibn Victor? Line 13 should be what? We should be done with that. All right. What you read by yourselves in the hadith books, or what you listen to, how you apply it to life, that's between you and yourselves. I can only give you just a little bit. All right, let's move forward to line number 14. All right. Line 14 states, Fadal Alamin. وكل بسم الله وكل ما قلت رجاه والضد ذاك قد نزل one more time وكل رجاله ذاك الذي قد نزل. All right, line 14, we're going to deal with 2 types of hadiths that only pertain to the chain of narration, nothing to do with the matan. And all of those whose transmitters are few is elevated, and its opposite is the one which has descended. So we have 2 things. One is called Ali, and here these translators in their explanation, They don't even mention the second type. They just don't mention it, unfortunately. All right. So how many people do I have in this chain of narration, Faisal? How many people in the chain of narration here on my right side? 3. Good. So I need further in the footnotes or in the text. So if I don't read the footnotes, what does that mean? All right, I need 3 more volunteers on my left side, inshallah. Quickly. 3 brothers. Quickly. Taha, get your pen and your pad. You're going to be the compiler. How you go to battle without a sword and a shield, Taha? No hand-to-hand combat on the battlefield. Allahu Akbar. Allahu Akbar. Well, we need that in the class, though. No, you're going to be on the end, Taha. You're the compiler. You're all the way on the end. All right? No, I need 1 more. I need 3 narrators. Rather, instead, I need 4 narrators. You, please, come. All right, give you guys some space. Taha, you got to get you a pen and a pad. Whether you got to bum it from somebody, steal from somebody, but you got to have something right down. All right, give a little more space. Okay, so how many compilers do we have right now? You guys line back up, back against the wall. We have 2 compilers, Nurul Hilu, Bukhari, and then we have Taha al-Arabi, Muslim, as an example. Clear? So, right now, Nurul Hilu, I have 2 chains of narrative. You have 2 teachers. You have Abdul Aziz, and then you have Al-Amin. Both of them are your what? Your teachers. You heard from Abdul Aziz in New Jersey, and heard from Al-Amin in Brooklyn. Mashi? You met one in Basra, and you met another teacher in Kufa. Clear or not? So, your first generation, Hadathani, Qala, Ibn Muneer قال كيت وكيت وكيت. والسند الثاني قلت حدثني الأمين عبد الله قال حدثني عبد السلام قال أخبرني معن قال ابن منير. كم سند لك الآن؟ طيب، أقل الأول ولا الثاني؟ الأول، لكن قد يكون الثاني أصح. ما حد ضعيف كذاب مبتدع رمي بالإرجاع، رمي بالقدر، خلاص ساقط. أيوة، مثلا على سبيل المثال، أو يعني فيه بعض الشيء صدوق حسن. والسند الثاني الأمين عبد الله عبد السلام معن، كلهم ثقات أثبات، لكنه أطول. هذا فيه كم راون وهذا كم فيه؟ Which one are you going to pick in your book? لا أبدا لا شك في ذلك. You're going to choose a shorter chain of narration. Even though my hadith is weak, but you know that the hadith is sound because you have it from your other. But I don't want an extra longer chain. I want the what? عليك بالعلو القرب من النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم. أنت معي؟ لا أيوة، إلا في تعاضد في تقوية. But he doesn't even have to tell you that he has a sanad آخر. ما عليه. So you come along, you look in his book, حدثني فلان, my hadith is weak. How is it sahih? Because you don't understand the science and the dynamic of the science. The scholars of hadith would prefer the shorter chain over the longer chain, even if the longer chain was more authentic. That's a fact. Ulu was from the greatest things that they wanted. One of them was about to die. They said, Yani, what do you want? He said, Bayt alin wa sanadin. He said, Baytin khali wa sanadun ali. That's what he wanted on his deathbed. An empty home and a short chain. Are you with me or not? Taha, you have the option of having 4 people between you and the Prophet, or you have the option of having 3 people between you and the Prophet. Who would you pick? Fadda. Mahad is weak, for sure, and an innovator. Tayyib, both. Why would you pick 3 with one that's, because shortness was everything. No doubt. I want my name to be closest to the Prophet's name. We understand the spirituality behind this or not? And it's something to show off. No doubt. A heavy flex. Between me and the Nabi al-Kareem, just 3 people. And you have 5 people. You understand or not? I had to travel to New Jersey to meet this one, to meet that one, to cut out the middleman. Clear on that or not? Now, if you have just 3 people and all of them are trustworthy, sound, then that's even what? You're really flexing. You're flexing hard now. But understand this. So therefore, 2 chains of narration for the same hadith. Taharabi, you go down next, you stand next to Nur al-Hido. 2 compilers. One has a 3 people in the chain, and one has 4. So Taha, you mentioned your chain of narration, starting from Alameen. Report it to me. You tell us your chain of narration, unless the compiler could be weak too. You don't know your teacher's name. La ilaha illallah. Allah mustaan. Tayyib. All right, so Al-Amin told you. Abdullah. Hold on. Brother Abdul Salam said, but he didn't tell, right? Right or wrong? Is that what he said to you? هذا يسمى التلقين. أنا قد لقنته رواية. هذه إشكالية كبيرة جدا. I sat here and I told him what his teacher told to him. Problem or not? And then another person comes along and does what? No. He comes along and he does what? The same thing. And the next thing you know, we just come and tell you, and then you say, yeah, that's right, yeah, that's right, yeah, that's right. Everybody understand? You got to understand the problem now, Mahad? He's supposed to say, no, this is what he said to me. So if he just shakes his head and agrees with what I'm telling him, that proves that he's not what? He's not firm. And he didn't remember what his teacher told him. That's another discussion later on. But you see in real life how it can what? How it can happen. So Taha was supposed to say, no, la, this is what he told me. You weren't there. You're not my teacher. Mind your business. Get out of here. But he shook his head. Good thoughts of me. But what if me and Taha have a madhab disagreement? He's Maliki, I'm Shafi'i, I'm Hanafi. Abu Hanifa is the greatest imam, not Malik. Or what if he's Shi'i and I'm Sunni, or opposite? So it's very easy for me to what? Discombobulate. I can fool you, I can sabotage you. And if you're not firm, you just take what he said, and this is how fabricated hadiths came about. And this is how weak narrations found their way. And Taha, he's a little older now. When he was young, sharp. Now he's a little what? He's a little older. So he shook his head a little bit, and he took what a strange person told him. Everybody clear on this or not? And some of the scholars of hadith, they would do this intentionally. They would intentionally fabricate chains in front of the teacher and see if the teacher's going to shake his head or not. To see if they're what? Firm, or there's time to retire. Understand the difference? All right, so that's a real life example. So therefore, al-isnadul ali. So for this hadith, for us to understand this next line, one hadith must have how many chains, Abdurrahim? How many chains does it have to have? Just one, right? How many chains does it have to have? Al-Amin. Abdullah. Abdul Salam. Martin. Mahad. 2, no doubt. It is comparison. One hadith with 2 chains of narration. One is longer and one is shorter. Clear or not? Now, you're not clear. It's very simple. You find out something that happened on the news and you watch it on 2 different stations. No, we're not talking about the forms. We're just talking about a scenario. One teacher, one compiler, two teachers, two versions. Same text, same meten. إِنَّمَا الْأَعْمَالُ بِالنِّيَّاتِ. Same text. Tea is my favorite beverage. Same text. But you have one route, like a shortcut. Both roads lead to what? Same place. One is shorter and one is longer. The longer route is more scenic. The shorter route, you have to pay tolls. Clear or not? This is the back roads, no tolls. It's longer. You get on the turnpike, you pay tolls, but it's faster. But there are two roads to what? One destination. Everybody clear on this or not? So it depends on what you would choose. I'll take the shorter route. Even I'll pay the tolls. I don't got it right now. I'm on a budget. I'll take the longer scenic route. So for us to even discuss Ali or Nazil, there has to be what? Two chains. Ala al-aqal. Wallah? Just because the chain is shorter doesn't mean that it is more authentic. Just because the chain is longer doesn't mean that it is less authentic. Understand this? But the benefits of a shorter chain of narration is that there are less people that you have to do what? Investigate. Exactly. I got 3 people's lives to look into versus 5. Secondly, the shorter chain of narration allows me to be closer to the Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam. My name is closer to him. Chain of narration, 2 people makes a big difference. Third benefit would be what? It's a what? It's a flex. For people who collect and compile these things, you having the initial, original version, the first time the book was printed, versus a reprint. The first time the book was printed was in 1959. And he has the reprint in 1969. They're both collectibles. But the 1969 version isn't like the what? Abadan. But someone who doesn't collect books, who cares? It's just a 10-year difference. They're both old as, like my grandfather. But to a bookworm, a collector, connoisseur, that original print, that 10-year difference is what? Everything. It's a flex. I'm going to show it off. Look what I got. I'm the only one with the original copy of this work. And you have a reprint, which is good, which is sound, which is old. It's out of stores, but it's not the what? It's not the reprint. For him to have that, let alone if the second print, something was taken out or something was added. The encyclopedia has changed. Back then it was Palestine. Now it's wahakadha. All right, so isnad nazil, and then there's isnad what? Ali. All right, so let's read the line one more time to make sure that we understand everything correctly. وَكُلُّ مَا قَلَّتْ رِجَالُهُ يعني بالنسبة إسناد آخر. عندنا كم سند؟ سندان. السند الأول قل فيه إيش؟ رجاله، والثاني كثروا، والأول اسمه Ali, الثاني نازل. So it doesn't have to be authenticity or not. Clear or not? All right, type. You guys can take a seat. Jazakumullah khairan. Right, next line. Mahad, وَمَا أَضَفْتَهُ. All right, line number 15. It says, Ibn Victor, and whatever you have attributed. All right, وَمَا أَضَفْتَهُ إِلَى الْأَصْحَابِ مِنْ قَوْلٍ فهو عرف علم زكين يعني علم معلوم. So we have that which is called al-hadith al-mawquf, al-athar al-ish al-mawquf, al-mawqufat, al-athar al-warida an al-sahaba. The Prophet isn't saying the Prophet did, this is how the Prophet looked, this is what the Prophet allowed. Rather, نزلت هذه الآية في غزوة كذا وكذا. This verse was sent down on this battle. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He sent down this verse concerning this munafiq. This verse was sent down concerning this woman from the Sahaba. That's also marfu', because the person is narrating it to the time of the Prophet. But instead, Umar radiallahu anhu said, Anas ibn Malik radiallahu anhu said, Abdullah ibn Abbas prayed like this. Am I clear this or not? Aisha radiallahu anha did this and she did that. Jabir ibn Abdullah, so on and so forth. Whenever Abdullah ibn Umar would make Hajj or Umrah, he would grab his beard, and any hair that exceeded his fist, he would cut it. He didn't say that the Prophet did it. He didn't say that the Prophet told us to do it. He didn't say that the Prophet allowed us to do it. Whenever Ibn Umar made Hajj or Umrah, he would what? The beard that exceeded his fist, he would what? He would cut. That is called what? Mawquf. Understand? It isn't being attributed to. The Prophet said, when you make Hajj or Umrah, when the Prophet made Hajjatul Wada, he, understand? The companions were with the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, Umratul Qada, the different times, the 4 times the Prophet made Umrah. One time we were with the Prophet, we finished our Umrah and we grabbed our beards and it doesn't what? Doesn't state that. The Prophet's beard didn't exceed his. Doesn't state that. But yet, or rather it says Ibn Umar would do that. And this is called mawquf. Mawquf. All right, to keep things simple, the same conditions or the conditions for hadith marfu' are the same conditions for mawquf. It has to be traced back with the same, what, Abdul Salam? Same conditions. What are the conditions for hadith marfu'? We explained that. We're not going to repeat that again. Wahid, you with me? For us to say that Ibn Umar said or did a thing, what steps must we take? And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We got it or not? Abdul Aziz, with me? All right. What are the conditions, Ibn Victor, briefly, for a hadith marfu' to be sound? The chain has to be connected. And yattasila isnaduhu. What's the description of the links? Those links in that chain have to be 2? That's done already. They have to be what? We never said that, Taha, more than 1. We never said that. La. That's from the fuqaha. We never ever said that. Those narrators have to be what? That's not, of age isn't the condition. Adlun, that's the condition. Religious equity. And the meaning of religious equity is Muslim, of age, not reliable. That accuracy afterwards. Adala. They have to have religious what? Equity. And religious equity means they're good Muslims. They're of age. They have mental health. They're sane. And wahakadha. That is, the name of the condition isn't them being of age. That's not the condition. That's the description of the condition. Those are the pieces of the condition. Those are the conditions of the condition. But the condition is religious equity, adala. All right, number 3 is those good Muslims who are of age, who are sane, they must have precision. You can pray all night, you can fast every day until your tongue turns green. But it doesn't mean that you have the necessary intelligence. It doesn't mean that you're an accurate narrator. It doesn't mean that you're a devoted and dedicated student to the science. He's a sheikh. Many scholars of hadith, different narrators, they would say, "Lo aqsama ala Allahi la abarrahu." He was so pious. If he made dua to Allah, Allah would give it to him immediately. And if he lo shahida indi ala tamratin ma qabiltu shahadatahu. If he was to testify for a date in court, I wouldn't take it. Yes, eyebrows raised. Pray all night, fast every day, finish the entire Quran. If he told me the sky was blue, I wouldn't what? Wouldn't believe it. He's weak. So piety and reliability are to what? And the benefit from this for everybody, and all of the benefits are for everyone, but the benefit concerning da'wah today is just because a person looks good and sounds good doesn't mean that he knows what he's talking about. And it doesn't mean that he's someone that you take Islamic knowledge from. He's handsome, he's wearing the scarf or the robe or this traditional garment, or he's from this country. It doesn't mean that he's what? Sahib ilm. It doesn't mean that he has knowledge. And no doubt, Islam and America, the Muslims, we would be much better if we applied this. Everything that smells or looks good isn't a real rose. Okay? So religious equity is one thing. Precision in narration is another thing. These three conditions are called what? Shurut إيجابية بمعنى لابد أن تكون لابد أن يكون موجودة. The remaining two conditions are called شروط انتفائية بمعنى يجب أن لا تكون عدم وجود. They can't be. And the hadith cannot be irregular. And the hadith cannot contain a hidden defect. What we took tonight, كعن سعيد عن كرم, that will be an example of what? إلا خفية إذا كان المعنن مدلسا. If he was a person of tadlis, and there's someone missing, but he never said that it's a person missing. I never lied to you. I never said he told me. I said that what? That he said. Understand? All right. So those conditions for hadith to be traced back to the Prophet ﷺ are the exact same conditions for a narration to be traced back to. We got it or not? The more we review, the more we practice, the more we keep spinning the wheel over and over again, the stronger and the firmer it becomes in our minds. We got it or not? Okay. What is the benefit of collecting and compiling a statement of the companions and what the companions did and what the companions said? We said this in the class, right? Was this last week or the week before? All right, tayyib. Let's move forward. All right, reading Surah Al-Kahf on Fridays. Waheed, authentic or inauthentic? Authentic. Tayyib. Authentic or inauthentic? Everybody agree this authentic? طيب. Al-Muhim, there are, we're not opening up a can of worms, but I'm trying to show you the importance of Al-Athar al-Mawqufa. The scholars of hadith, they differ on this narration. Can you recite Surah Al-Kahf religiously? Of course you should recite the Quran as much as you can. But is it a special virtue in you reciting Surah Al-Kahf every Friday? طيب. This is what we're trying to what? We're trying to get into. So right now, those who say that you should, no problem. Those who say that you shouldn't, it isn't authentic. What's one of the proofs that they use? Because they differ over the hadith. Is it sound or not? They differ. What's one of the sub-proofs that they use? No. They're saying that you shouldn't. Think about it. After the adhan, inshallah.
Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah. Ashhadu an la أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله حي على حي على الصلاة حي على الفلاح حي على الفلاح الله أكبر الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله
لا إله إلا الله
اللهم
طيب, inshallah, if there are any questions on the class, we'll try to give them the most attention. And if not, if there are any other questions before we make Salat al-Isha, we'll try to entertain them now. Wallahu ta'ala alam. As far as Surah Al-Kahf, and perhaps, la'allana, maybe, we'll discuss this in next week's class. Nothing to do with the ruling or the issue, but me giving you a real life example of showing you the importance of having the information that has been narrated from the companions with regards to that which is said to be narrated from the Nabi al-Kareem. Understand? That's the only purpose. Before anybody gets mad or angry or says, oh, you're saying, without understanding. You understand this? Khairan, inshallah. All right, are there any questions before we move forward? طيب, تفضل, بسم الله. Question says, is mubham and mu'an'an two forms of illah? Yes and no. And mubham is clear. Mubham is clear. And illah is hidden. All right? So that's the no part. As far as the an'ana, then it can be an illah if the person is known to commit that which is called tadlis. And we've discovered that this specific particular narration he did not hear from his teacher for one reason or another. Or between the two is a weak narrator, or he intentionally hid the identity of a fabricator, etc. Clear? Wallahu ta'ala alam. Tayyib. Bismillah. You got to come next week to find out. You should have saw that one coming. You knew that was coming. Everybody here would have told you I'm not going to give it to you that simple. Next Wednesday, inshallah, see you after Maghrib. Bas, khalas. Allah yabarak fik. Faddal. Abdus salam. No, we never said that. I never said that. Thank you. A huge difference between the two. I never said more authentic. We said more preferred. Tayyib. Precision, right? Abdus salam? It's simple and clear and easy. I'm writing a book. I have two chains of reporters. One is shorter and closer to the source. I'm going to prefer that. And for argument's sake, one of the reporters has some issues. But I know for sure that the report is sound from another longer version of reporters. You clear on that or not? Take a deep breath. Think about that. If you got that, the answer is clear. For argument's sake, 3 people, one of those people is a little weak. 4 people between me and the source, all of them are. I'm going to mention in my book the version in which there are only 3 people between me and the one who said what I'm quoting. And this version has 4 or 5 or 6. So you may come along and say, wait, you're relying upon a weakness. I say, no, this one is weak, but the actual narration itself is what? It's sound, but I prefer to stick with the shorter version. You clear on that so far? Tafadhal. What do you mean re-authenticate? Abdul Salam, you're digging deeper. You're getting the quicksand is you're sinking deeper. You're going deeper and you're making a sinkhole for yourself. Fadl. Re-authenticated. طيب. Fadl. Bismillah. Of course. It's well known. First and foremost, you're not supposed to be reading my book. I never wrote my book for a beginner. I wrote my book for an expert. You picked it up without being an expert in, I wrote my book for a person who's a part of the culture. I wrote my book for a person who's aware, who's already been studying for years. This book wasn't written for, let alone translation into English or another language. That's the first problem. Access to knowledge is a blessing, and at the same time, it's mushkila. Secondly, all sciences have evolution in them. The later scholars, this is how they looked at things. That's not the scholars of the 3rd century. Imam Muslim, his point of view and perspective is different. As an example, Shaykh al-Albani, rahimahullah. Even though there are tons of issues over which Imam Muslim and Albani do what? See eye to eye. But there are going to be plenty of issues in which Muslim and this later scholar, Shatan, we never said that. We never would approach it like how you're approaching it, because there's evolution in sciences, whether that's good or bad. You clear on that? So Imam Muslim, we're making an example here, just an example. Imam Muslim, in his book, he quotes a hadith in which there's just 4 people between him and the Prophet. And one of those people happens to have some متكلم فيه بعض الشيء. Someone comes along says هذا الإسناد في صحيح مسلم ضعيف لأن فيه فلانا وفلانا. قال الحافظ في تقريب التهذيب صدوق سيء الحفظ. And Muslim rahimahullah ta'ala knows that the narration is sound with all of the conditions, but the chain of narration is what? 6 people. So in his book, he is always going to prefer the what? No question. Al-ulu, al-ulu. That was the prize. Know and understand their style. You clear on that? Inshallah. Wallahu ta'ala. And obviously, certain things which are for advanced students. Certain things are for intermediate. So on and so forth. Bismillah. Let's give it a shot. 30 seconds. All right. Bismillah. We're only taking questions right now. Anybody got a question within 30 seconds? Taha. Bismillah. In 30 seconds. Bismillah. Next week, next question. How much time we got left? Shot clock. That wasn't 30 seconds. وصلى الله وسلم وبارك على عبده ورسوله نبينا وإمام أحمد. جزاكم الله خيرا.